Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Raka Satria Jaden Aryan. I'm from class 9.3 and my assignment is 33. Today I'm going to be explaining a material in the subject of social, and the material is cultural change. So there are two types of cultural change, revolution and evolution. Revolution usually takes place, like less than 100 years, and evolution takes more than a century, basically. An example of a revolution would be the COVID-19 pandemic that happened within less than like 100 years or so, and most pandemics are of course less than 100 years, and that's why most of them are considered revolutions because they changed the culture of the world and they changed it dramatically within a short period of time. An example of evolution would be the Industrial Revolution. Despite revolution being in its name, it's not actually it's not actually a revolution since it takes place over the course of a couple centuries, from like the 1600s up until the 20th century. And yeah, that's why it's called the evolution, despite its name being the Industrial Revolution. And also there are four also subtypes of cultural change: intended change, unintended change, big change, and small change. As stated in the name, they're all of them are quite obvious to guess what their meaning is. Big change affects like a large area of the world, and it's not just concentrated in one area, like in one country or in one province, but it's usually more than one country or the whole world together. Again, an example of this would be the COVID-19 pandemic. And small change would be change that only affects a small part of the world, usually of one country or less than one country, like the provinces and the areas within that country. An example of this would be another outbreak, but it's more like monkeypox. It's it's recorded as a huge thing, but it's not really. It only affects like a few places in the world. An intended change is what people are planning to change, like usually industrial revolutions, because people want the change and people are working for the change. As I just said, the industrial revolution would be an example of this, because people were actively working towards the industrial revolution because they want it to happen. Unintended change is usually natural, and it can be like um, natural disasters. They can cause cultural change within the world, especially if that natural disaster is extremely severe to the area that it affects. And yeah, so that's the four types of unintended change. Next, there are lots of like factors of why cultural change happens. The first one would be conflicts. Obviously, conflicts can, cause damage, and they can leave a permanent scar on that specific area. For example, the war in Afghanistan, even though the Taliban has won, the area is permanently scarred. There's bombs there, there's landmines there, so the people's cultures are going to have to change, and they don't only have to change it to what the Taliban wants them to be, but they also have to change adapting to their new environment. Another factor to to cultural change is globalization. In the modern era, this is especially common in like third world countries as well as some first world countries. And yeah, so globalization is like the communications and how people can spread their message out easily. Of course, this is going to have an impact on cultural change. Of course, people are going to be able to like send out their local cultures to other countries in the world and share it with them. For example, culture from South Korea has now been entering Indonesia. Culture from Japan has now been entering from just now entered to lots of countries all around the world. And yeah, those are the two major, like major factors of cultural change in the world. So yeah, that's my material on the social subject. Ya, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.